Alright, then let's get started. Okay. Get started. Create the project. You create a project for the app. The same. Start a timer. You create a project for the app in exactly the same way you did in the previous chapter. Create a new Android Studio project for an application named Messenger. Thus, okay. Create message activity and activity create message. Create message activity and create message. Okay, update the layout. Okay, the XML for activity underscore create XML. By using linear layout to display components in a single column, and we've added button and added text elements to it. The edit text element gives you an editable text field you can use to enter data. This is the editable text field. It's empty. If it's empty, it gives the user a hint about what the text they should enter. Okay. So let's type it in. Android layout with match parent, Android padding, 16. We have Android orientation vertical and tools context. Oh, we have Android orientation. Orientation is vertical. Tools context equals create message activity. This is the context in which then we have an edit text ID message. This edit text. I think I can write it out myself. Thank you. Text. First of all, I have to provide it an ID. Android ID equals plus at the rate ID slash at the rate present slash message. Then we provide the layout width and layout height. Just wrap it in. Draw it. Layout width. Wrap content. Then Android layout height. Both wrap content. Then go with Android layout margin top. The hint attribute gives the user a hint of what the text they should hear. It describes how wide the edit text should be. It should be wide enough to accommodate 10 letter M's. Right. Why is it missing autofill hints? That's okay. Then we have Android layout margin top, margin top equals 20 dp, right? It's 20 dp. Okay, then we have hint. The hint attribute gives the user a hint of what the text they should type into the text field. We need to add it as a string resource. Will do. I can create a string hint name equals hint, and then I can give it a value. What is the value? Enter a message. Enter a message. Then Android hint equals @string hint. Boom. Then we have this describes how wide the edit text should be. It should be wide enough to accommodate 10 letter M's. Okay. Equals 10. Okay, so let me see the layout. Go message. What is this about? Let's target too small. Right, you here. Then we have a button with ID send. Right. Edit text. XML has empty body. Excuse us. Okay, that's why. But first of all, we provided an ID. Start with @ plus ID and send. Right? Then we set the width and height. Android layout width, wrap content, height is also wrap. Android layout height, wrap content. Then I think it will need a conflict, yes, and a margin, a layout margin top. This system resource we need to create the margin at the top. Android layout underscore margin top of course 20 dB. Then Android conflict equals send message. Message. Then we create a text with string send message. String send message. We can deploy text or string send. Send message there. Okay, clicking the edit text element defines an editable text field for entering text. It, hen- it inherits from the same Android View class as the other GUI components we've seen so far. So this is a string resource we need to create. Clicking on the button runs on screen on send message method activity method in the activity. Update the so I added that. We used two string resources in our layout on the previous page. The button has a text value of string send that appears on the button, and the editable text field has a hint value of @string hint that tells the user what to enter in the field. This means we need to add strings called send and hint to strings.xml and give them values. This now, and the method to the activity design means that on send message method in the activity will fire when the button is clicked. Let's add this method to the activity now, and then we have open the create message activity file and replace the code Android Studio created you with this. Create call send service. Call on send when the button is clicked. So I'll provide public void send message which takes in a view, and right now so I quote Android view dot. This method will be called when the button is clicked. Will complete the method body as we work our way through the rest of the chapter. Complete method gets called when the activity is created. Make sure your activity extends the activity class. Yeah, it's important that it extends the activity. Create the second activity and layout. But first, let me try and run this. Okay, so launching on devices, gravity icon, center right, layout underscore gravity center. Center that signal here. gravity center, center horizontal. Messenger stopped. What happened? Why didn't it work? There were no problems. Missing in the text input type. Messenger keeps stopping. Item's height is 45 dp. Consider making the height of this touch target 48 dp larger. Text use autofill. dp. Is it good now? Will it run now? Input type is input type. Um, text. There, okay. Android autofill text. Use autofill. Missing autofill means actually specified. And by using iOS specifically, specify that view is not importing autofill. The hints can have any value, but it is recommended to predefine the username. Message. Override resource. Another configuration. Use for message. Good enough. The intention copies a resource to a new resource folder which allows you to override it for more specific qualifiers given locale. Read message and code for the chosen language. You can mark a view unimportant. Autofill by specifying an important autofill attribute. Important autofill. No. Still not work. I think I hadn't used tools context, right? I think this is creating some problem. Let's try without. stopping. Uh, where does it keep stopping? Say what went wrong. It keeps create let's try and do it like this. Message keeps stopping. Is there something wrong? Sorry, but what is the problem? Is it this? Because I think last time I checked it was working just fine. There is question. Check lockcat. Service check lockcat. Studio. Try activity. What main activity? Sufficient resources. Do I have insufficient resources? Do you think that's enough? Chrome will crash. Think it works just fine. Why does this keep on C++? See, that works. Uh, let's send. Okay. Unable to instantiate activity component. Class not okay. Okay, so it was looking for main activity, right? So what do I perform launch activity? Okay, so it didn't find main activity. Okay, so I need to figure out what, okay, how to change main to the studio. Studio. Change application starting applications starting 14 years. Okay, you yes, you use Android mobile. You can actually even have more than one launch activity. Intent, Android name, change application starting activity. What just happened? Split. Okay, working to get an object to set text main activity. Text main on. Create a new empty activity. Okay, so main activity had to be there. Create in detail. Update an Android manifest. Navigate to app. Add comments are added. Right name. And below language specifying a main activity. specifying a main to activity. New activity. So in the Android manifest, right? Got So we go to manifest, Android manifest, and that is the problem. Create message, right? Now let's bring in everything, and I feel this should work now. Let's build it. There we go. Great. Okay, now I can move forward. Create the second activity and layout. Android Studio has a wizard that lets you add extra activities and layouts to your apps. It's like a scaled down version of the wizard you use to create an app, and when you use it whenever you want to create a new activity. So to create the new activity, switch to the project view of Android Studio's Explorer. Click on Package, Folder, choose File New Activity, and choose the option for empty activity. You will be presented with a new screen where you can choose options for your new activity. Some versions of Android Studio may ask you source language of your activity. If prompted, select Java. Every time you create a new activity and layout, you need to name them. Name the new activity, receive message activity, and the layout activity, receive message. Okay, make sure that the option to generate a layout is checked and the launch activity and backward compatibility options are unchecked. Finally, confirm that the package name is this, and when you're done, click finish button. Okay. So this new activity. I think this is empty music. Right, empty music. Main activity. Receive message activity. Yeah, okay. Finish. Alright. Importing my message here in this. Alright. Right. Then what just happened? When you clicked on finish button, Android Studio is created, right? Okay, this is the C1 and lot of just get rid of this, but then import android.os.empty, where is activity stored? Android.app.empty menu. And we create a public class, a public class. Okay, was the one before a public class? Yeah, public class. See message activity extends activity, right? then we here we will create our own create function. So at with the annotation group protected void, public protected void, right? Protected void, protected void on create bundle saved instance state super dot create will pass the saved instance state, and then we set content, set content view r dot layout dot activity receive message. There we have nothing to receive message. Alright. But Studio created a shiny new activity file for you along with a new layout. If you look in the Explorer, you should see that a new file, save message activity, has appeared in the app source. If we choose the project view, the app and the source, Java, we have these two new activities, and in the res XML layout, we have these two new layouts. They appeared in the each activity uses a different layout. Create message activity uses the layout activity underscore create underscore message, and receive message activity uses activity receive message dot xml. You explore it different. Behind the scenes, Android Studio also made a configuration change to the app in a file called Android. Let's take a closer look. Okay, Android manifest file. So just oh, okay. So here's our activity, create message activity, exported true, exported false. So every Android app must include a file. This is important. Okay, you can find the Android manifest XML file contains essential information about your app, such as what activities it contains, required libraries, and other declarations. Android creates the file for when you are Android creates the file for when you create the app. If you think back to the settings you choose the if you think back to the settings you choose when you created the project, some of the file contents should look familiar. Here's what a copy of Android XML manifest.xml looks like. This is the package name we specified. Okay, look that it is manifest Android CTPS, and it is the package manifest Android. It don't specify a package. I don't think it does. Package. Cannot specify a package. This is the package name we specified. The Android Studio give our app default icons. Okay, round icon and icon. Round icon and here's the icon. Okay. The theme affects the appearance of the app. We'll look at it later. And this is the first activity. Intent filter. Okay, so we have specified that this activity is our main activity. And filter and we'll name this and function. Okay, we have activity Android name dot create this activity intent filter. This bit specifies that it's the main activity of the app. See, this is what I wanted. This is the first activity. Create. This says that the activity can be used to launch the app. Okay, action, Android name and category, Android intent category launch. Yeah, this is the second activity. This is the second activity, receive message activity. Android Studio added this code when we added the second activity. Okay. Every activity needs to be declared. All activities needs to be declared in Android manifest.xml. If an activity isn't declared in the file, the system won't know it exists. And if the system doesn't know it exists, the activity will never run. I think I missed it. If you develop Android apps without an IDE, you will need to create this file manually. You declare an activity in the manifest by including an activity element inside the application element. In fact, every activity in your apps needs a corresponding activity element. Here's the general form. Application, each activity needs to be declared inside the application element. This line is mandatory. This line is mandatory. Just replace my activity name with the name of the activity. Activity Android name. Yeah. Android name. Android name. Here. Okay. If not included in the Android manifest.xml, then as far as the system is concerned, I don't exist and will never. The activity may have other properties too. Each activity needs to be declared inside an application element. Application. The following line is mandatory and is used to specify the class name of the activity. In this example, my activity class name, Android name. My activity class name is the name of the class. It's prefixed with a dot because Android combines it with the class name. Android combines the class name with the name of the package to derive the fully qualified class name. The activity declaration may include other properties too, such as security permission and whether it can be used by other activities and other apps. Then we have the second activity in our app was automatically declared because we added it to, if you add extra activities manually, you'll need to edit Android manifest yourself. The same way may be true if you use another IDE besides Android Studio. An intent is a type of message. To check if everything works till now. An intent is a type of message. We've created an app with two activities in it, and each activity has its own layout. So far, we've created an app with two activities in it, and each activity has its own layout. When the app is launched, our first activity, create message activity, will run. So first activity, create message activity. When we need to, what we need to do is, what we need to do next is get create message activity to call receive message activity when the user clicks the second message button, send message button. This is what we need. Whenever you want an activity to start a second activity, you use an intent. You can think of an intent as an intent to do something. It's a type of message that allows you to bind separate objects, such as activities, together at runtime. If one activity wants to start a second activity, it does it by sending an intent to Android. Android will then start the second activity and pass it the intent. You can create and send. You can create and send. Create and send an intent using just a couple of lines of code. You can start by creating the intent like this. So intent, new intent, this in target class. The intent specifies the activity you want to receive. It's like putting an address on an envelope. The first parameter tells in Android which object the intent is from. You can use the word this to refer to the current activity. The second parameter is the class name of the activity that needs to receive the intent. Once you've created the intent, you pass it to the Android like start activity intent. Start activity starts the activity specified in the intent. Right. Once Android receives the intent, it checks that everything's okay and tells the activity to start. If it can't find the activity, it throws an activity not found exception. Then, dear Android, please can you tell activity 2 to start now? Sincerely, your old man. Let me see. Yeah, that seems legit. I'll tell activity 2 to get started. Oh, a message. I'll start right. Use an intent to start the second activity. Okay, so we add android.content.indent. Let's put this into practice and use an intent to call receive message activity. We want to launch the activity when the user clicks the send message button. So we'll add two lines of code we discussed on the previous page to a send message. So this is important. We need to import the intent class android.content.intent as we're using it in send message. Right, then we go intent, new intent, this, and receive message on activity.class, and then start activity. Start activity with, so I can do that quickly. Import android.content.intent. Go. Then this see message activity dot class. Then we start activity intent. Switches control to the next statement. Okay. So what happens now when we run the app? What happens when you run the app? Before we take the app out for a test drive, let's go over how the app we've developed so far will function. When the app gets launched, the main activity, create message activity starts. When it creates, the activity specifies that it uses activity create. Yes, this happens. This layout gets displayed in a new window. The user types in a message and then clicks on the button. But I don't think we have handled that right now. Yep, we have not handled that. The user types in a sorry continues specifies that you test drive. The user types in a message, then clicks on the end button. The onSend message method in create message activity responds to click. The onSend message method uses an intent to tell Android to start activity, receive message activity. Android checks that the intent is valid, and then it calls the receive message activity. So when receive message activity starts, it specifies that it uses layout activity receive message, and this layout gets displayed on a new window. So let's try that. So I T send message and we get an alright. Test drive the app, save your changes and then run the app. Create message activity starts and when you click on send it launches receive message activity. When you click on the send message activity, the activity receive message activity starts and it fills the screen. This activity is currently blank because this is the default layout Android gave us. Pass text to second activity. So far we've coded create message activity to start receive message activity when the send message button is pressed. Next we'll get create message activity to pass text to receive message activity so that receive message activity can display it. In order to accomplish this, we'll do three things. Tweak the activity receive message so that it can display the text. At the moment it's simply the default layout the widget gave us. Update the create message activity Java so that it gets the text from text. So it gets the text the user inputs and then adds the text into the content and send it to code. Right. And then we go update receive message activity .java so that it displays the text sent. We're going to use a linear layout with a vertical orientation as we did in the okay. Get rid of this. Okay. First of all, it's XMLNS Android. Android. This is equals to HTTPS schemas.android.com apk res XML and S2 HTTP schemas.android.com. Okay, now tools and text. Receive message activity. Android layout height match parent width match parent. Alright, so we have tools, Android padding and orientation. Android orientation vertical. Say that it is empty. And then finally I have padding, layout padding. Padding equals 16 16. Right, now we are going to, okay, that is all. We need to change the layout so that it includes the text view. The text view needs to have an ID. How should we change the layout? Think about this before looking at the next step. The text view needs to have an ID message so that we can reference it. That's easy. Create text view. First of all, we'll give it an ID at the rate ID message Android layout height content Android layout with content. We need to add text view element to the layout and give the ID message. This is because you have to add an ID to any GUI component you need to reference in your activity code. And we need to reference the text view so that we can update the text it displays. We updated our code so that it includes a new text view. Update your activity CMS so that it reflects the changes and that. We have not specified default text for the text view, as the only text we'll ever want to display in the text view is a message passed to it by the create message activity. Now that we have updated the layout, we can get to work on the activities. Let's start by looking at how we can use an intent to pass a message to receive. You have to use intents. Can't I just construct an instance of the second activity in the code from my first activity? That's a good question, but no. That's not the Android way of doing things. One of the reasons is that passing intents to Android tells Android the sequence in which activities are started. This means that when you click on the back button on your device, Android knows exactly where to take you back to. That's interesting. Puts extra information in an intent. Okay. You've seen how you can create a new intent. You can add extra information to this intent that can be picked up by the activity you are targeting so that it can react instantly. To do this, you use the put extra method like so. Put extra lets you put extra information in the message you're sending. The message is a string where message is a string of the name. Where message is a string for the name for the value you're passing it, and value is the value. The put extra method is overloaded, so you have many possible types. Okay, well, that's about it for today. The put so you have many possible types. As an example, it can be a primitive such as boolean or int, an array of primitives, or a string. You can put extra repeatedly to add numerous extra data into intent if you do this, make sure to give each one a unique name. There are many different options for the type of value. You can see them all in the Google Android documentation. Android Studio will also give you a list of type list you and if you do this, make sure you give each one a unique name. So that is it.